Hi, I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, we might not really be falling back to any routine yet with so much uncertainty out there still, but we can still highlight positive steps. This is Our Vancouver. Coming up, a call for volunteers to help keep senior dogs at home with their elderly owners longer. And a profile of a restaurant chain that gave many Lebanese immigrants their Canadian start. But first, the beauty of BC inspires an artist from Italy. Well, our province is just so beautiful. It has been the muse for so many artistic people. Here is an interview that we did last year with Italy's Daria Cipriani. Now, she was born in Italy, but has a real eye and heart for British Columbia. Daria Cipriani is the photographer and author of two beautiful books, A Journey Home and The Dream Catcher. Daria, hello and welcome.
Well, hello, and thank you for having me.
Now, A Journey Home, it captures the carving of the reconciliation pole in Haida Gwaii, and that pole now stands at UBC. How did all that come about?
Well, it was just pure coincidence, and I guess that totem pole was on my path. I was in Haida Gwaii taking a walk, and all of a sudden I see these people busy doing the carving. And after tiptoeing for 2 minutes, they were the most welcome people I can remember. I asked if I could take picture. They let me do it. They told me the story. And it was really an amazing experience. I can never forget the generosity of those people.
No, you really captured not a moment, but several moments in your book. And I guess it's had a lasting effect because I'd like to hear more about how this experience has really turned you into an advocate for education about residential schools and reconciliation.
Well, I realized how little I knew as an adult of the residential school. And for me, this is such an important part of Canadian history. And how could I be a Canadian citizen and not know about it? And then I thought that the best way will be to tell that story to children because it's a story about children. And that was the idea of trying to put it in simple words, illustrating it by photographs, and making children aware, even though in a kind of soft way, that these things happens, they should not happen, and how we can do and educate them in order that they are aware and also they recognize in the other people, in the other children, in the First Nation children, what was done to them and have the right consideration for it. It's just not talking about it, but let's do something about it. So this book is just my little gift to honor those children and make our children aware. There is no point in hiding anything. History, it's history. We cannot change it, but we can certainly make it better for the
sure.
future.
Now, and why do you think it's important to sort of underscore those messages with images?
Because images are more immediate. I think when you look at them, you see, actually, I think that the carver, they did such an incredible job taking the spirits out of that tree that you can actually see. I was really touched by the way they were carving. It was almost like they were caressing the face as they were coming out. So image to me is that what it should transmit a feeling. I believe that's the scope of photography, right? It just, you don't photograph just to take a picture or a memo. It's just to say something, to give the message that the artists want you to give. Reading that moment is what it's important to me.
Well, and you're very sparse with your words, and you've decided to do this in English, French, and Italian. Why was that?
Well, because in my dream, in my mind was that the world should know, it's not just a Canadian question. This situation happens worldwide. And so I didn't have a common language so everybody could read it, not just in Canada. So that was my choice.
Well, and you raised money from this beautiful book for a Haida group called Rediscovery. What does that group do?
Oh, well, it's an incredible organization which helps younger people, teenagers, which have social issues and problems, to reconnect with their own culture, reconnect to their own roots. And the elders are their guide, which I think it's fantastic. You know, in a society where elders are kind of put aside and considered not so worthy, the fact that that wisdom and that knowledge is passed on, I think it can be really a great assets that we should look and kind of dive more into it because there is so much.
Yeah, you're right. It's several layers deep. So that's a journey home, but you've also come up with the Dream Catcher. What's your vision behind this book?
Well, the Dreamcatcher is a book for children, but I always like to say it's a book that children should read to adults. The book was written during COVID. I was supposed to go to Italy and I couldn't go, so I stayed in Vancouver. And I had all this time, which usually I don't have because I'm traveling all the time. And so I thought, wow, okay, I'm here. Let's see what is in Vancouver that it's important right now. And I wanted to I started taking photographs and then I started telling the story in my own mind, like I could tell it to my granddaughter. What did you see today? Well, I saw the raccoon. I started giving names. And then I tried to come up with a story, which is a tale of our city seen from the perspective of the animals. And in the city, the children are not there anymore. They are safe on planet Limbo. And there are only few elders left, which are the custodian of the memory of the world. And there is an older woman, an elder, who has a dream. She wants to bring the children back to the planet. But to do that, she needs the help of the animal. The animals know how bad humans have been in the past to nature, to the animals, so are not willing to help.
And Daria, it's so appropriate that you're giving the proceeds from the Dreamcatcher to BC Children's Hospital too. Thank you so much for your time today.
This is our Vancouver.
Well, here's a story about sports and a healthy lifestyle. More than 100 kids and their families gathered in Surrey recently for a tournament where the ultimate goal isn't to win. As the CBC's Janella Hamilton tells us, coaches are teaching them lessons that go far beyond the field.
Get his flag, get his flag!
Keep going, keep going!
Watching kids of all ages laugh, run, and try to capture their opponent's flag, it's a sight that brings a smile to Stanley Price's face. Price is a former gang member who spent years in and out of jail.
I made a lot of wrong choices in my life, and I think if there was more resources like this, I probably wouldn't have made a lot of those wrong choices.
Now that he has done his time, he's joined forces with veteran police officer and Kids Play CEO Cal DeSange. Together, they want to show kids there's better ways to keep busy than getting into trouble.
I don't want any kid, my kids included, to fall into that dark path that I followed.
A lot of kids don't participate in Kabaddi, which is a traditional Indian game that originated out of India. It involves a lot of wrestling, grappling.
DeSange says Flag Kabaddi is just one of the activities youth can participate in through Kids Play. He says he began the foundation after seeing too many young people get involved with drugs and crime.
It always bothered me because we'd be apprehending these kids, pushing through the criminal justice system, and they'd be spewed out on the other end to re-engage in a perpetual cycle of violence.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go!
Since its inception in 2015, Kids Play has served more than 70,000 kids. All programs are free of charge.
I want every single child to have an equal opportunity regardless of their socioeconomic background, and it's making tremendous headway. 30 kids that came through our programs are now law enforcement officers. We have some going to law school, some going to med school, some going to engineering.
Dosanjh says it's all about creating an engaging and supportive community, and a big part of teaching kids how to build a better future is connecting them with people who have made mistakes.
It's one thing for a police officer to get up on stage and talk about staying on the right track, but it's another thing when you have somebody that's been in that lifestyle and telling kids, hey, I was there, I personally struggled through that. These are the adversities I had to face, and you don't want to do that for these reasons, and here's why.
Get it!
Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Surrey.
All right, it's time for one of our favorite features. This is where we get to showcase a number of the photographs that have been sent in by you, our audience. Well, fall is certainly here, and the colors look great too. Bikram Rijal sent us this image of autumn in Burnaby. So lovely. Thank you, Bikram. And Kirtan Patel was out looking at the evening sky and saw the moon peek out there behind the clouds. Just wonderful, Kirtan. Thank you very much for that. And finally, Terry Spilsbury was inspired by the very good-looking half moon we experienced last week. Great capture of the moon in all its splendor, Terry. Thank you. So get out there with your cameras and send us more of your favorites. Just email them to bcphotos@cbc.ca. All one word, bcphotos@cbc.ca. Now, have you ever been to the Burger Baron in Kelowna? The original restaurant started in Alberta, and in the 1960s, they were a place where Lebanese immigrants could find work and start their Canadian dream. That is the subject of this week's Absolutely Vancouver film. Here's a sneak peek for you.
Where's my action? I want an action.
And action.
This one is green. What's going on with this?
Meet the Burger Baron superfans. I invited them here to help me understand their obsession with a curious little fast food chain in Alberta.
Is this what you always order?
It's all my favorite things from Burger Barons. The mushroom burger with what I assume is Campbell's mushroom soup.
I really love the onion rings.
I love the sauce.
We just need to be quiet for a minute.
Right on set.
Lock it down. I'm eating over here.
Could you describe Burger Baron to someone who's never heard of it or been there before?
The broken down, dirtiest look. I can't say that. It's true. You roll into town and you look for the dirtiest place that has a beacon of hope shining on it with a weird little man, go eat that burger.
It's like a classic diner burger, but all of them are going to be a little bit different because of the way they've all drifted apart from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That looks pretty good. Can I have a bite of that?
absolutely.
Yeah?
Sure.
Sorry, guys. We can do this. We're bubbled up. It's my dad.
Childcare.
Yeah.
Actually,
absolutely.
that's my father-in-law. This is my dad. That's my mom. And this is the grand opening of the Burger Baron in High Prairie. Our Burger Baron.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're officially opening the new Burger Baron.
The restaurant changed our lives forever, and it made it possible for my parents to live out the immigrant dream in Canada. That's me in the middle. As you can tell, I really love the food. It wasn't until I got older that I realized my parents weren't the only barons on the prairies. There were dozens of them spread around small-town Alberta. And other than that one mushroom burger everyone loved, they didn't seem to have anything in common. Except for one thing. All of them, every single one, was owned by Lebanese immigrants like my parents.
The minute you say you have a burger baron, the first thing anybody will ask you, are you Lebanese?
Nobody really knows who the owner is. One of the Lebanese people came, took it, and made it the company that it is.
Is it cultural appropriation?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't say burger chic. So.
It's one of the most recognizable and beloved brands in Alberta, with over 25 completely independent locations spread across the province from north to south, and one in BC. Which begs the question, how did the Burger Baron go from fast food franchise to fast food meme?
There is no actual system. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing with Burger Baron.
So what's going on here? How did a loose network of Arab immigrants become a cabal of burger impresarios?
It's a territorial business. My Burger Baron is definitely better than his Burger Baron.
My dad is Burger Baron.
Your dad is Burger Baron. No, my dad is Burger Baron. My dad was Burger Baron before your dad was Burger Baron.
They don't pay franchise fees, agree on branding, pricing, or even menu items. As far as anyone can tell, nobody is in charge. It was once an international brand with more than 100 locations in its history, spread across 11 provinces and states, and there was even one in Lebanon. But the Burger Baron's heyday is no more. Even before the pandemic turned the restaurant business upside down, Burger Barons were closing at a steady clip.
They need somebody to take over the business who's enthusiastic about it.
This Burger Baron will not be passed down to me. I can guarantee you that, or my brother.
I'm sure they'll die off 20 years from now. Maybe we'll have one left.
Who will be the last Baron?
Coming up, longer beaks, larger ears, bigger limbs. These are a few of the shape-shifting examples that scientists have noticed in some warm-blooded animals as they try and survive a warming world. Johanna Wagstaffe will explain after the break.
For decades now, animals have been trying to deal with global warming. Some migrate to cooler areas, some have changed the timing of breeding, and others, it turns out, have been evolving to change their body size to cool down more quickly. A new paper from Deakin University in Australia reviewed the published literature around the world when it comes to this topic and found that for some animals, warmer climates tend to produce creatures with longer limbs and larger appendages. So for warm-blooded animals, global warming has made it difficult for their bodies to maintain a constant internal body temperature. I mean, we know as humans that extreme heat can overstress our bodies. Many animals use their appendages to regulate their internal temperature. Think African elephants who flap their large ears to disperse heat. The beaks of birds perform a similar function. Blood flow can be diverted to the bill when the bird is hot. So by changing the size of their ears, tails, beaks, and other limbs in parallel with temperature increase, some species have begun shape-shifting in an attempt to keep up. Okay, well, not exactly shape-shifting. This is natural selection happening in real time. And it's a pattern that the study has found is already happening in species today. Studies show the beak size of gang cockatoos and red-rumped parrots has increased by between 4% and 10% since 1871. Mammal appendages also are increasing in size. For example, the masked shrew tail and leg length have increased significantly since 1950, and in the great round-leaf bat, wing size has increased by 1.64%. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. More studies are needed to determine which kinds of animals are most affected all around the world. And this could enable us to identify which species are most vulnerable with climate change and require conservation priority. At the end of the day, though, while the research shows some animals are adapting to climate change, many will simply not be able to evolve in time. The only way to truly protect future species is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prevent as much global warming as possible. And now, you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thank you. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, this long pandemic has certainly reinforced our need for companionship. And a volunteer group helping keep seniors and their canines together as long as possible has been very busy this last year and a half. Lynn Booth is a volunteer with ElderDog Vancouver. Lynn, hello there.
Hello, nice to be here.
So you're out volunteering right now. Tell us about where you are and who you're with.
Well, I'm in Kitsilano, which is the area that I volunteer within, the west side more generally. And I'm at Sharon and Muggins' house in the backyard. For a long time, I didn't even come up this far. I was just in the garden to pick up Muggins and take him for a walk. Well, and we have a team. We go walking most days of the week, in fact, all days.
Oh, so what kind of difference does, taking Muggins or other dogs out, what kind of difference does a walk like this make to the senior who owns the dog?
I don't know. I'll ask Sharon. Can you hear Sharon?
Let's
Hi
see.
there. Okay, so Lynn Booth and ElderDog came into my life at a particular time of the pandemic, and also the time when my husband was dying and was hospice at home. So that was just an enormous, just wonderful to have them come in, and they took Muggins for a walk and took care of his both emotional and physical needs. And then since then, you just sort of form this community with the walkers. It played a big part in the walkers' lives during the pandemic, but also in my life and Muggins' lives. And he forms attachments to them all. He keeps their schedule, in his mind, and he sits there waiting for so-and-so to arrive at exactly the right moment. It's just fabulous.
Oh, I love to hear that. Now, Lynn, you have to pan down. We want to see Muggins. We haven't seen Muggins yet.
Okay. I'm going to flip around and do not show myself. I hope you guys edit this.
I love it. Oh, there's Muggins. There's Muggins waiting for a walker. So what kind of relationship do you form with the animals, Lynn?
Well, they're all different. I tend to come in and set up teams, but I keep a few that I walk regularly. And Muggins is my best pal, to be honest. He kind of saved my life too during the pandemic. We were out walking. We spent a lot of time together. Sharon's been very generous in sharing her dog with me because I don't have a dog, but I have Muggins, and that's wonderful. I like all the dogs, and I love to set up the teams of other volunteers. I'm a team lead, which means I coordinate teams. This is all volunteer, and you just end up meeting the loveliest people and the greatest dogs.
And what is the range of things that the ElderDog volunteers do? You mentioned the walking, but beyond that?
Well, we have 3 areas. There's the dog care support where we do the walks and we can help with transportation to grooming and picking up food and vet visits, things like that. But then we have something called the foster program. I'm not very involved with that, but in an emergency, I have had dogs stay overnight when their human had to go to the hospital or something came up, so they needed an emergency shelter situation. And then we have the longer term rehoming program for those situations that the human's no longer able, the client's no longer able to keep their dog, and yet they want their dog to be able to go to a loving home. That's not something I'm involved with directly, but I know we are quite active in that area too.
Wow, that is quite a range of services. That's nice that you can provide that. And just how busy has it been, for the volunteers, especially during the pandemic?
I think it has been, there were a lot of volunteers that came on board. We have a bit fewer now that people are returning to life as normal or closer to some normalcy. But we were busy. We had a lot of new clients coming. It was kind of word of mouth, I think. I think we need volunteers, and we work in the lower mainland Tri-Cities area. So we're always welcoming people to check out elderdog.ca and sign up.
Okay, is it that easy? I was just going to ask, what do you do if you're interested in becoming a volunteer? Go to the website first of all. Is it a particular profile that makes a good volunteer?
I think people who have stability in terms of their schedule are ideal, but even those people who can only do a few, like I have people that have joined and helped doing the newsletter. So they've actually never been involved with the dog, but they help edit our regular newsletter and other communications. We have a fundraising committee. You go to the website or you go to the Facebook has the ElderDog Vancouver Facebook presence, I think an Instagram presence, and you can just reach out and we'll send you an application. You need to get a police criminal check if you're working with clients and dogs, but if you're just volunteering with a fundraising or some other committee, then you don't even need that. You can just get involved directly.
Well, Lynn, it sounds like a win-win relationship. Can we get another look at Muggins before we say goodbye?
You
see that
you
sweet,
sure can.
sweet
I'm
little
turning
face.
you over. I don't know if am I facing the right way or no, you're looking at me. I'm really sorry. I can't see what I'm doing.
It's all working. Oh, there's Muggins hiding behind the chair.
There he is.
Hiding behind the
Okay,
chair.
Muggins.
Aw.
This is your moment.
Having a little bit of a nap there. That's awesome. Lynn, thank you very, very, very much. All the best to you, okay?
My pleasure. Have a great day. Thanks, Gloria.
When hope was high and life worth living, I dreamed that love would never die.
If you'd like to go and see some live music, Lisa Longa is a Filipina singer, and she has supplied the singing voices of 2 Disney princesses. Lee performs at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre September 27th.
Shelter every time it starts, but if you leave me, I've been moving on.
And the Teskey Brothers are an Australian blues band from Melbourne. They're actually brothers, and they're going to play the Orpheum Theatre September 28th.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music. Well, the summer of 2021 is almost over, and I want to introduce you to what has become my song of the summer. It's by a new Winnipeg artist called Boy Golden. And before I play you that amazing song that captured my imagination this summer, here's another one of Boy Golden's fine tunes.
I was talking to a street corner preacher. He said, man, I got a few things I can teach you. Teach you how to live in a righteous way. Send you off to heaven this very day. He said, give me that bag, son, and make a small donation to the Church of Better Days. He said, first off, you gotta bust up just enough green to get a feeling good and fat. We're gonna roll ourselves a bet, yeah, that's right, kid. We're gonna smoke a grenade, 3.5 grams of AAA to the brain. He said, this ain't no pipe rip. Are you feeling alright, kid? It's a Church of Better Days. Come on.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's Boy Golden out of Winnipeg. And as you can see, he's a mustache and mullet sporting, aviator glasses wearing rock and roller, seemingly from another feel-good era. He is also supposedly the founder, minister, and principal songwriter of the Church of Better Days, which also happens to be the name of his new album. Oh, and he is a major marijuana advocate. So who is Boy Golden really? Well, it's the new prophet-like persona of Liam Duncan, formerly of Winnipeg band Middle Coast. Here's more Boy Golden.
I could buy a Picasso to hang on my wall. Buy a whole castle, it would still feel small. Maybe it's timeless, or maybe it's just a hoax. Someday we could find ourselves a better life, one I never thought we could afford. Someday we could find ourselves a better life. Something to work towards. Yes, it's something to work towards.
That's Boy Golden with a live performance of his song Something to Work Towards. The studio version can be found on his new album, which is out now and doing really well. In fact, one of his songs, called KD and Lunch Meat, has gained some major traction on commercial radio and is looking to bust in to the CBC Music Top 20.
Don't we all need some time to unwind, take the edge off? Yeah, I want you here. Why don't you call in sick? Maybe you could just quit. Baby, that's what I did. Don't it make you wanna honey? Don't it make you wanna do something for you?
yeah, that laid back and groovy sound is courtesy of Boy Golden, and that's his grassroots hit, KD and Lunch Meat. And that was the song that became my summer jam of 2021. So if you dig Joel Plaskett or the Steve Miller Band or Bob Dylan or Steelers Wheels, I highly recommend that you get high on the music of Boy Golden. KD and Lunch Meat is the song that you need to add to your Late Summer Jams 2021 playlist. I'm Grant Lawrence. Stay cool, and I'll check in with you again next week.
Coming up, free diver Alex Chin uses local salmon in his traditional dumpling recipe. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. A warning with this next story, it might leave you feeling hungry. Spearfisher and free diver Andrew Chin is sharing another dish with us, this time trying his hand at salmon fishing off the coast of Vancouver Island and using that Chinook to make dumplings. Just watch.
After a long closure, the season for Chinook salmon has just opened up here in British Columbia. I'm Andrew, a freediver and spearfisherman. It's been 15 years since I last went to Vancouver Island, and today we're back on the boat with Captain Alex. Being more of a spearfisherman, I've never gone salmon fishing before, so I'm relying on Alex to teach me everything that I need to know to get some fresh fish. Chinook salmon, or king salmon, are some of the best eating fish we have in BC, and they definitely put up a fight. Out of the 5 species that we have here, they grow the biggest and they have the highest fat content. And fat is flavor. This is the first salmon I've ever caught, and it's gonna be the perfect ingredient in today's dish. So today I'm going to be making some dumplings with today's catch, this Chinook salmon. And while dumplings are relatively easy to make, it's definitely a labor of love. It's a great dish to make with friends and family and for friends and family. Growing up in Canada as a child of immigrants, I was definitely aware of the things that made me different. Things like food. And while food can bring people together, that wasn't always my experience. Dumplings were something that I used to bring to school as a kid, and I used to feel embarrassed by them. While other kids had their sandwiches, I had the weird Asian food. Experiences like this made me feel embarrassed of my family's food, and in turn, my culture and ethnicity. But now, Asian food is everywhere. It's super popular and everybody eats it. It's funny to see how things change. The things that I once shied away from, I'm now embracing. And the foods that people used to think smelled weird, they love. And sometimes that's food like dumplings. And using pre-made wrappers from the store makes it easy for anybody to make these. Salmon isn't the most traditional ingredient for dumplings, but one of the things that makes dumplings so great is the effort and love that you put into them. And for me, part of that care and effort is in the ingredients that I choose, so using this fresh-caught salmon just makes sense. And by keeping it simple with just a few aromatics of ginger, garlic, and green onion, and a little seasoning with soy sauce, oyster sauce, and sesame oil, we allow that fatty richness of the fresh salmon to shine through. I'll be steaming these in these bamboo baskets for about 5 minutes, just until the salmon is cooked, so they stay nice and juicy. And while that's going, I'm making a spicy dipping sauce with garlic, soy sauce, rice vinegar, sugar, sesame oil, and the famous Laukanma chili oil. While dumplings are simple to make, they're definitely time-consuming. But sometimes, things that take the most amount of time and love to make are the most worth it. Spending all this time making foods like this, it's like I'm reclaiming time lost running from my culture and background. And while it may not have been spearfishing, I'm super happy to have caught my first Chinook salmon and to be able to make these dumplings for the guys on the boat.
The opioid crisis continues to rip through our communities. After nearly dying from an overdose himself, a Mission man is sharing his story. As Benit Brach reports, he hopes it can help others battling addiction to get the help they need.
A beautiful family moment, far different from 3 years ago.
What happened to me was so catastrophic.
Eris Finch was found in his Mission apartment, unconscious and blue. Cocaine laced with fentanyl had him in a coma for 23 days at the age of 31. Seizures, organs failing, and brain swelling.
Right from the beginning, as soon as he got into the emergency, we were being told he probably won't survive.
Horrific for any parent to see.
I hoped, I didn't give up hope that he would survive.
And by miracle, he did. Finch is now working toward becoming sober.
But my advice is to go see a specialist, because there is a lot of them, and there is care for you that is willing and ready to help you out of whatever mess that you're in and try to get your life back on track.
Push aside the stigma, he says, and get the help you need.
I can't go back or even open the door that leads back to that place.
Now Finch gets monthly support from the Rapid Access Addiction Clinic at St. Paul's Hospital. Addiction experts say awareness around overdose prevention is critical right now as BC's drug crisis reaches new heights.
A person who is using illicit drugs needs to recognize that one of the main reasons why overdoses occur is because it's extremely difficult to predict the concentration of the drug.
Other important advice: never use alone. Get your drugs checked at prevention sites if you can, and always carry naloxone.
Love you, sweetheart.
And as Finch continues his journey towards sobriety, he has a new motivation.
I can see my progression in her eyes as she grows up.
His daughter, born while he fought for his life in a coma. Something he hopes he'll never be doing again. Benit Brach, CBC News, Vancouver.
From the mouths of babes, CBC Kids News gives us a primer on exercising our democratic right to vote. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, the federal election is Monday, September 20th, and CBC Kids News has been busy making sense of our democratic system. Contributor Amiko Carroll breaks down what you need to know about voting, including who can vote, why you should vote, and how to cast a ballot.
You may not be old enough to vote in Canada yet, but maybe you've heard of phrases like every vote counts and be sure to exercise your right to vote. What does it all mean? And what's the voting process actually like in Canada? Here's what you need to know. Who can vote? To register to vote in a federal election, you must be a Canadian citizen, aged 18 years or older on the day of the election. Why vote? Voting is an important civic responsibility. No. Civic responsibilities are not mandatory. But there's another phrase you might have heard. If you don't vote, you can't complain. A person's vote is like a civic superpower. How it's used can affect government decisions. But if you don't vote, it's like having a superpower and not using it. So how does someone know who to vote for anyway? Before casting a vote, it's important to do some research. Yes, research. First, consider the issues that matter most to you. Follow several news sources you trust to make sure you're hearing from a variety of perspectives. Tune into federal debates and research the party's political platforms. So, how do you vote? The most common way is in person at polling stations, on the day of the election, or up to 10 days in advance. You may also have an Elections Canada office near you. You can pop in there up to 6 days in advance. Or, if you're away and can't get back in time to vote, you can also vote by mail. What if you have a disability? Like you use a wheelchair? Most polling stations are accessible. If not, an election worker will help you get set up. What if you're blind? Well, the list of candidates is written in Braille. Oh, and if you have a face covering, you don't have to remove it. Isn't Canada awesome? Voters fill out a ballot by selecting one candidate within their riding. Who you vote for is entirely up to you. And you don't have to tell anyone who you chose or why. All of the ballots filled out by eligible voters will be counted. And the candidate with the most votes within the riding wins. Okay, so we learned who can vote, why vote, how to prepare to vote, where to vote, and how to cast a ballot during a federal election. As kids, it's important to stay informed about your elected officials, so when it's your turn to vote, you'll be ready. Want to know more? Check out our videos on how elections work and what is a political party. For cbckidsnews.ca, I'm Amiko Carroll.
Thank you for that story from CBC Kids News. Election ads have certainly changed over the years. They tend to reflect the tone of the times we're in. So let's go back to 1997 now to see how the ads played out then.
Ruling parties are always coy about such things, so the Liberals are calling these pictures a public awareness campaign instead of election ads. The ads are in French only and are running in Quebec only, where the Liberals know they're running far behind their separatist opponents. The Prime Minister is right up front, looking prime ministerial, and in one ad pictured side by side with the most powerful separatist of them all. Lucien Bouchard participated in the Team Canada mission to Asia, and the Liberals captured that rare moment of national unity. The Liberals say the ads are running because the Bloc Québécois has managed to keep the province focused on national disunity.
The only reason they are here is to break up the country, so that's the only message that they bring back in Quebec.
Bouchard would only smile and say the question of his participation in this campaign seems to have been answered. But the Liberals are only the latest party to start running targeted ads. Jean Charest has been on television for more than a week, primarily chasing votes in Ontario, the province in which the Tories have vested their greatest hopes. The Reform Party has been field testing its ads in Peterborough, in southern Ontario, and in British Columbia, concentrating mainly on tax cuts and national unity. One ad about capital punishment has since been abandoned due to lack of voter interest.
Please call.
And the NDP, too, is already in the ad game. The principal object is to put party leader Alexa McDonough's face into voters' minds and to concentrate early on areas where the party thinks it's strong: Nova Scotia, the Prairies, and the West Coast. And, of course, once the official campaign starts, probably in a couple of weeks, it will be much shorter than in the past, a minimum of only 36 days. So little time, so many things to say, so many decisions on where and when to say them. And all the parties know that television advertising is the single most powerful means of communication they have. Neil McDonald, CBC News, Ottawa.
When we bring you stories here at CBC Vancouver, we have award-winning photographers out capturing the images that say so much. Still images add context and bring a lot more to the understanding of an event or an issue. Here are some of the latest from what was happening this past week. And that's all for our Vancouver for this week. And I hope you can join me and the rest of the CBC Radio elections team Monday evening for an election special. There'll be full television coverage as well. You'll get results from all over the country. Goodbye for now.